Literacy for Learning is a new professional learning course designed to build teacher capacity and a common language to talk about literacy so that students' literacy is more explicitly and systematically scaffolded across the school. The 6-module course is highly interactive with activities, opportunities for reflection, as well as between-module activities and readings. The between-module work allows participants to trial strategies in their classrooms and engage in ongoing discussions with colleagues as the course progresses on site.
Literacy for Learning is about student achievement across the curriculum. And it's been developed for a couple of key reasons. Firstly, in response to the Australian curriculum. The Australian curriculum has a model of language which underpins all the learning areas. And this model of language focuses on and develops the language students need to be successful in all the different contexts, including the different subjects and learning areas. And it focuses on the developing abstraction and technicality students need in order to understand and become and scaffold it into the ways of knowing and communicating. Secondly, there is a literacy improvement imperative, and so many schools are working on their literacy improvement plans to ensure that students develop the language required for success in meaning making across the curriculum, across all learning areas. And that developing level of abstraction and technicality as students are apprenticed in to the learning areas, the ways of knowing and communicating in the learning areas. The model of literacy for learning is for capacity building across a school. So teachers come to the course supported by their schools, by their school leadership, and become facilitators in the course, in the training they do, and then take this course back to their school, work with their colleagues, and through that process, a whole school approach, a whole school meta-language can be developed so that students are supported across the school with the language demands to ensure meaning making across the curriculum.
Literacy for Learning is guided by the Australian curriculum literacy capability, in particular the key organising elements of comprehending and composing, as well as the knowledge elements of text, grammar, word and visual. Activities designed to develop understanding of the social view of language that underpins the Australian curriculum are included. Participants examine the literacies embedded in different learning areas in the Australian curriculum. Science and history are used to explore different literacy demands, and related discussion focuses on why all teachers are responsible for understanding and explicitly teaching the specific literacy demands and opportunities for their learning areas. Through the teaching and learning cycle, students can be scaffolded to compose a focused genre, usually for assessment purposes. This means students are scaffolded into understanding how typical school genres are structured and what specific language and visual resources are used to help texts make meaning in these different contexts. At times, participants take on the role of students. For example, during the module on oral language, participants engage in activities that support learners to talk their way into understanding. The module on reading and viewing explores the language elements critical to successful reading, including the relationships between visuals and language. The water cycle text is one example used to demonstrate a framework for scaffolding reading and viewing. This includes activities for starting out, getting deeper, and finally focusing on a particular language element in the text. The modules on writing text that work and language for increasing abstraction and technicality focus on some key resources for writing formal learning area specific texts. These include the way different genres are structured, how text cohesion is improved through foregrounding main ideas, the role of the noun group as students are expected to compose more specialised and technical texts. Nominalisation is a key resource for expressing abstraction and technicality. Finally, all the understandings which have been built throughout the course are drawn together to inform programming and assessment practices. the key issues are explored and the chances provided to reflect on teaching and learning practices before considering the implications and challenges in developing a whole school literacy focus.
I could really identify with how the skills from the course would help me as a teacher, identify the aspects of literacy that would help students gain a higher grade. As a teacher, I often found myself responding to composition of text. It's a little bit too vague. You need to put a little bit more detail in. You need to write more. And then students would look at me with a blank look, and they didn't really know what that meant. And I was, certainly when I began, I wasn't skilled enough to say, well, actually, the way you're constructing your sentences or the vocabulary that you are using is way too informal. You need to move it along the register so that it's a formal context, or what audience are you writing this for? Is it an oral text, a written text? Is it, are you using the technical vocabulary that you need to use, or are you using the vocab that you would use to explain this to your best friend? So I think that on a personal level as a teacher, the course allowed me to explore all of the information that I'd be able to give to a student to improve their writing. Often the content in a response is fine, but the way that they are expressing themselves is not refined enough.
I see this program, Literacy for Learning, as providing the macro understanding of the importance of literacy as being everybody's business. Certainly at Woodville High School, literacy is on our site learning plan, but this provides the main understanding of language in its social context. Because what we find is that teachers are really happy to be led by their colleagues. I see the benefits of this program in that it really relates to classroom practice. It certainly is strongly embedded in good theory, certainly of functional systemic linguistics, but it doesn't sort of push that. It links beautifully with the Australian curriculum and the literacy continuum, which is an important part of that. Many staff, teaching staff, are getting used to the idea that there are literacy demands, that they are a part of the achievement standards, and they are starting to ask for courses like this.